The concrete walls of the parking garage echoed with the sound of my ragged breathing as I pressed myself against the cold metal door. My hands trembled so violently I could barely grip the handle. Behind me, footsteps grew louder, closer, accompanied by a voice that made my blood run cold. "Lily, I know you're here. You can't hide from me forever." I squeezed my eyes shut, willing myself to disappear, to wake up from this nightmare that had become my life. The door I was leaning against was locked from the inside. I had tried it 3 times already, pounding until my fists ached. It was 1:47 in the morning, and I was trapped in a deserted parking garage with nowhere left to run. Tears streamed down my face, mixing with the blood from my split lip. My ribs screamed in protest with every breath, a reminder of what had happened just an hour ago when I'd finally found the courage to fight back, to say no, to try to leave. "Lily." Derek's voice was closer now, maybe 2 levels below. "Come back here. We can talk about this. I'm sorry, baby. You know I didn't mean it." The lies were almost worse than the violence. Almost. I slid down against the door, my legs finally giving out beneath me. My phone was gone, left behind in my desperate escape from our apartment. My car keys were in my purse, which Derek had ripped from my hands when I'd tried to leave. I had nothing, no one, nowhere to go. That's when I heard it. The smooth purr of an expensive engine growing closer. Headlights swept across the concrete as a black vehicle rounded the corner, heading toward the level where I huddled against the locked door. I should have been afraid. A strange car approaching in an empty parking garage in the middle of the night should have sent me running. But I was already living my worst nightmare. What more could the universe possibly throw at me? The car, a sleek black Mercedes that probably cost more than I'd make in 5 years, came to a stop about 20 feet away. The engine cut off, plunging the level back into eerie silence, broken only by my hitched breathing and the distant echo of Derek's search. The driver's door opened and a man stepped out. Even in the dim fluorescent lighting of the garage, I could tell he was someone important. The way he moved, the cut of his suit, the measured way he assessed his surroundings, everything about him screamed power and danger. He was tall, probably 6 feet and 3 inches, with dark hair swept back from a face that looked like it had been carved from marble. Sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw, and eyes that, even from this distance, seemed to see everything. He wore a 3-piece suit despite the late hour, charcoal gray with a crisp white shirt, no tie. His shoes alone probably cost more than my monthly rent. Those eyes found me almost immediately. They swept over my huddled form, taking in my torn dress, my bare feet, the blood on my face. His expression, which had been neutral, hardened into something that made me shiver for an entirely different reason than fear. He approached slowly, carefully, the way you might approach a wounded animal. When he was about 10 feet away, he stopped and lowered himself into a crouch, bringing himself closer to my level. "Are you hurt?" His voice was deep, cultured, with the faintest hint of an accent I couldn't place. Italian, maybe, or somewhere in that region. I tried to answer, but only a sob came out. I pressed my hand over my mouth, humiliated to be seen like this by a stranger. "It's all right," he said, his voice gentler now. "You're safe. Can you tell me your name?" "Lily," I managed to whisper. "My name is Lily." He nodded once, as if I'd just confirmed something he already suspected. "I'm Alessandro Ferrante." "Who did this to you, Lily?" Before I could answer, Derek's voice rang out from the stairwell, much closer now. "Lily, I can hear you. Stop playing games and come out." I flinched violently, curling in on myself. Alessandro's eyes flickered toward the stairwell, then back to me. Something dangerous moved behind his gaze. Something that should have terrified me, but instead made me feel, for the first time in hours, like I might actually survive this night. "Is that him?" Alessandro asked quietly. "The man who hurt you?" I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Alessandro stood in one fluid motion. He reached into his jacket, and I caught a glimpse of a gun holstered at his side. My breath caught. What had I stumbled into? He pulled out his phone instead of the weapon, pressing a single number. Marco, underground parking garage at the Riverside Towers, level 3. I need you here. Now. Bring Nico and Dante. He paused, his eyes never leaving the stairwell entrance. We have a situation that requires discretion. He ended the call and returned his attention to me. Lily, I'm going to ask you to trust me. Can you do that? I don't know you, I whispered. No, you don't, he agreed. But in approximately 30 seconds, the man who hurt you is going to come through that door. And you have a choice to make. You can face him alone, or you can let me handle this. The stairwell door burst open, and Derek emerged, his face flushed with anger and exertion. He was a big man, 6 feet tall and built like the college football player he'd once been. He'd used that size to intimidate me for 2 years, to corner me, to make me feel small and helpless. But next to Alessandro, he suddenly looked ordinary, unremarkable. Derek's eyes found me first, then shifted to Alessandro. His expression went from fury to confusion, to poorly concealed fear. Who the hell are you? Someone you should not have encountered tonight, Alessandro replied, his voice perfectly calm. He positioned himself between Derek and me, a human shield in an expensive suit. I suggest you leave. Now. Derek laughed, but it sounded hollow. That's my girlfriend you're talking to, buddy. This is none of your business. Your ex-girlfriend, I said, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. I'm done, Derek. We're done. His face contorted with rage. You don't get to decide that, Lily. You don't get to just walk away from me. He took a step forward. Now get over here before I... Before you what? Alessandro's voice had gone cold, arctic. Strike her again? Judging by the marks on her face, you've done quite enough of that already. Derek's hands clenched into fists. He was stupid enough, angry enough to take a swing at Alessandro. I saw it coming, opened my mouth to shout a warning. I needn't have bothered. Alessandro moved with a speed and precision that didn't seem possible for someone his size. He sidestepped Derek's punch, caught his arm, and in one smooth motion, had Derek face first against the concrete wall with his arm twisted behind his back, at an angle that made Derek cry out in pain. Listen very carefully, Alessandro said, his voice barely above a whisper, but carrying clearly in the empty garage. You're going to walk away from here. You're going to forget Lily's name, forget her face, forget she ever existed. And if I hear that you've so much as looked in her direction again, I will make you disappear in ways that will ensure no one ever finds what's left of you. Do you understand? Derek whimpered, nodding frantically. I didn't hear you, Alessandro said, applying more pressure. Yes, I understand. Alessandro released him with a look of disgust. Derek stumbled, nearly fell, then scrambled toward the stairwell without looking back. His footsteps echoed as he ran, getting fainter and fainter until they disappeared entirely. Silence fell over the parking garage. Alessandro straightened his suit jacket, composing himself, then turned back to me with an expression that had softened considerably. Are you all right? He asked, extending a hand to help me up. I stared at his hand, then at his face. Who are you? Really? A slight smile touched his lips. Someone who was in the right place at the right time. Or perhaps the wrong place, depending on your perspective. He kept his hand extended. Come. My associates will be here shortly, and I'd like to get you somewhere more comfortable where we can tend to your injuries. I can't go with you, I said, even as part of me desperately wanted to. I don't know you. You could be dangerous. I am dangerous, he agreed readily. But not to you, Lily. Never to you. The way he said it, with such certainty, such conviction, made something warm unfold in my chest despite the cold fear that had gripped me all night. The sound of approaching vehicles made the decision for me. 2 more black Mercedes pulled up beside Alessandro's, and 3 men emerged. They were cut from the same cloth as Alessandro, well-dressed, watchful, moving with the same predatory grace. Alessandro spoke to them rapidly in Italian. I caught a few words: medical, safe house, and a name that sounded like it might have been Derek's. The men nodded, and one of them, a shorter man with kind eyes, approached me carefully. "Miss Lily," he said with a gentle smile. "My name is Marco. I have some medical training. May I look at your injuries?" I glanced at Alessandro, who nodded encouragingly. Slowly, I allowed Marco to examine the cut on my lip, the bruises forming on my arms and ribs. He worked with surprising gentleness, murmuring reassurances as he cleaned the cut with supplies from a first aid kit one of the other men had retrieved from a car. "Nothing broken," Marco finally pronounced. "But you should see a doctor properly tomorrow. Those ribs might be cracked." "I will arrange it," Alessandro said. He'd been watching the entire examination with an expression I couldn't quite read. Anger simmered beneath his controlled surface, but it wasn't directed at me. "Lily, I have a proposition for you." I looked up at him warily. "You need somewhere safe to stay tonight. Somewhere Derek cannot find you. I have a property not far from here that is extremely secure. You would have your own room, your own space. My housekeeper, Rosa, lives on the premises and can attend to anything you need." He paused. "In the morning, we can discuss more permanent solutions to your situation." "Why are you helping me?" I asked. "You don't know me. This isn't your problem." Something flickered across his face, there and gone too quickly for me to identify. "Let's just say I know what it's like to feel trapped, to feel like there's no way out." His eyes held mine. "And I have the resources to help you. So I will." There was something in his voice, in the way he looked at me, that made me want to trust him. Against all logic and common sense, I found myself nodding. "Okay, thank you." Relief, subtle but unmistakable, crossed his features. "Marco will drive you. I have some business to attend to, but I'll join you within the hour." As Marco helped me to my feet and guided me toward one of the cars, I glanced back at Alessandro. He stood in the middle of the parking garage, phone already to his ear, speaking in rapid Italian. The other 2 men flanked him, their expressions grim. I had a feeling Derek's night was about to get much, much worse, and I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for him. The drive to Alessandro's property took about 20 minutes. We left the city behind, winding through tree-lined roads until we reached a gate that opened automatically as we approached. The house beyond was exactly what I'd expected. A modern mansion of glass and stone, lit from within with warm, welcoming light despite the late hour. Rosa met us at the door. She was a woman in her 60s with silver-streaked dark hair pulled back in a neat bun and the warmest brown eyes I'd ever seen. She took one look at me and immediately began fussing, ushering me inside while speaking to Marco in rapid Italian. Come, mi cara," she said, her accent thick but her English clear. "Let's get you cleaned up properly and into some comfortable clothes. Then food. You need to eat." "I'm not really hungry," I started to say, but my stomach chose that moment to growl loudly. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten. Derek had been angry about dinner, said I'd overcooked the pasta. That's what had started the fight that ended with me running for my life. Rosa smiled knowingly. "Your body knows what it needs. Come." She led me upstairs to a guest suite that was easily 3 times the size of the studio apartment I'd shared with Derek. The bedroom was decorated in soft creams and blues, with a massive bed piled high with pillows and a sitting area by floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the property. An ensuite bathroom was visible through an open door, all marble and gleaming fixtures. "The shower has good pressure," Rosa said, laying out fluffy towels. I'll leave some clothes on the bed for you. Take your time. There is no rush here. After she left, I stood in the middle of the room for a long moment, trying to process everything that had happened. Just hours ago, I'd been in my apartment, living my nightmare. Now I was in a mansion, being cared for by strangers, rescued by a man who moved like violence incarnate, but treated me with unexpected gentleness. The shower was as good as Rosa had promised. I stood under the hot water until it ran cold, watching the blood and tears swirl down the drain. When I finally emerged, I found soft pajama pants and a cashmere sweater laid out on the bed, along with thick socks and a robe. Everything fit perfectly, which should have been strange, but somehow wasn't. Alessandro struck me as the kind of man who paid attention to details. I made my way downstairs, following the sound of voices and the smell of food. I found Rosa in a kitchen that looked like something from a cooking show, all gleaming appliances and marble countertops. She was heating up soup and had already set out fresh bread and cheese. Sit, she commanded, pointing to a stool at the kitchen island. You eat, and then we talk if you want, or we don't talk, whatever you need. I sat, and she placed a bowl of soup in front of me. The first spoonful brought tears to my eyes. It was simple vegetable soup, but it tasted like comfort, like safety, like everything I'd been missing. Rosa, I said quietly. Who is Alessandro? Really? She paused in her bustling, turning to face me with an expression that was both fond and slightly worried. He is a complicated man, Kara. A good man in his way, but complicated. That's not really an answer. She sighed, sitting down across from me. No, I suppose it isn't. Alessandro is businessman. Import, export. He has many connections, many resources. She met my eyes. Some of his business, it is not the kind discussed in polite company. Do you understand? I did. I'd suspected as much from the moment I saw the gun, the way his men responded to him, the casual way he'd threatened Derek. He's in the Mafia. Rosa's expression didn't change. That is a word. It is not wrong, but it is not complete either. Alessandro is many things, but the most important thing you need to know right now is this. She reached across the counter and took my hand. He does not hurt women, ever. That is a line he will not cross, will not allow others to cross in his presence. When he gives his protection to someone, he means it absolutely. Why me, though? Why would he care about a random stranger in a parking garage? Something sad flickered in Rosa's eyes. That is his story to tell if he chooses. But I will say this. When Alessandro was a young boy, he watched his mother suffer at the hands of his father. He could do nothing then. He was small, powerless. Now he has all the power he once lacked. And when he sees someone like you, someone who needs help, it calls to something deep inside him, something he cannot ignore. I absorbed this, trying to reconcile the image of a helpless boy with the powerful, dangerous man who'd dispatched Derek with such casual efficiency. He's not going to hurt Derek, is he? I mean, really hurt him? Rosa's smile was thin. Derek will wake up tomorrow with a very sore arm and a very clear understanding of the consequences should he ever come near you again. Beyond that? She shrugged. Alessandro is not needlessly violent, but he is thorough. I should have felt guilty, should have been worried. But all I felt was relief. I was halfway through my second bowl of soup when I heard the front door open. Alessandro's voice drifted in, speaking to someone on the phone. Rosa squeezed my hand once and stood. I'll leave you two to talk. If you need anything, my room is at the end of the hall upstairs. Do not hesitate to call for me. Alessandro appeared in the kitchen doorway just as Rosa was leaving. He'd removed his suit jacket and rolled up his sleeves, revealing strong forearms. He looked tired but satisfied, like someone who'd just completed an important task. Lily, he said, his eyes doing a quick sweep to assure himself I was all right. I hope Rosa has been taking good care of you. She's been wonderful, I said, and the soup is amazing. Rosa's soup can cure anything, he said with a small smile. May I join you? I nodded, and he took the seat Rosa had vacated. For a moment, we sat in silence. It wasn't uncomfortable, just waited with unspoken questions. Derek won't bother you again, Alessandro finally said. I've made certain of it. How can you be sure? Because I own the company where he works. Or rather, where he used to work. As of 2 hours ago, he's been fired and blacklisted from every firm in the city. I've also filed a restraining order on your behalf with a judge who owes me a favor. It will be processed first thing tomorrow morning. He paused. And I've made it very clear what will happen to him if he violates it. I stared at him, trying to process the scope of what he'd done in just a few hours. You didn't have to do all that. Yes, I did. His voice was firm. Men like Derek, they don't stop unless they're forced to stop, unless the consequences are severe enough to penetrate their sense of entitlement. You speak like you know them well. His jaw tightened. I know the type. My father was one. He terrorized my mother for years before she finally found the courage to leave. Unfortunately, he found her. He looked away, staring at something I couldn't see. I was 12, old enough to remember, too young to protect her. My heart ached for the boy he'd been, for the trauma that had shaped the man he'd become. I'm sorry. He refocused on me, his expression softening. That's why I help when I can. When I see someone in a situation like yours, someone who just needs a chance to get away, to start over, I have the resources. It would be unconscionable not to use them. What happens now? I asked. I can't stay here forever. I have a job, an apartment, a life. Even as I said it, I realized how little of that was true. My job was waitressing at a diner where Derek had isolated me from any potential friends. The apartment was in his name. My life had become so small, so constrained. Tomorrow, we'll start building you a new life, Alessandro said. If you want. A real one, where you're not looking over your shoulder. I have lawyers who can help you navigate the legal aspects of separating from Derek. I have connections that can help you find employment, housing, whatever you need. Why? I asked again, needing to understand. Why go to all this trouble for a stranger? He was quiet for a long moment, his eyes searching mine. Because the first time I saw you, crying in that parking garage, you reminded me of my mother. That same look of determination mixed with desperation. That strength that keeps you standing even when everything inside wants to collapse. He leaned forward slightly. And because I saw something in you, Lily. A fighter. Someone who deserves better than what life has given her so far. Tears pricked at my eyes. No one had seen me, really seen me in so long. Derek had spent 2 years convincing me I was worthless, that I should be grateful he put up with me. To have this man, this powerful, dangerous man, look at me and see strength instead of weakness, it shattered something inside me. I don't feel like a fighter, I whispered. I feel broken. Broken things can be mended, Alessandro said gently. And sometimes they're stronger for having been broken. He stood, giving me space. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we start putting the pieces back together. The next few days passed in a blur. True to his word, Alessandro mobilized his resources. Lawyers appeared with paperwork. A doctor came to the house to examine my injuries properly. 2 cracked ribs, as Marco had suspected, plus severe bruising. Rosa fussed over me, ensuring I ate regularly and rested. She told me stories about Alessandro as a boy, painting a picture of someone who'd been serious even then, who'd carried the weight of his mother's suffering like a stone in his heart. Alessandro himself was often gone during the day, attending to his business interests. But he always returned in the evening, joining me for dinner and asking about my day with genuine interest. He listened when I talked about my dreams of going back to school, of becoming a nurse. He didn't laugh when I admitted I'd always wanted to write, to create stories that helped people escape their own lives the way books had helped me escape Derek. "Then you should write," he said simply, as if it were the easiest thing in the world. "I have a library you're welcome to use, a quiet space where you can work." On the fourth day, I woke to find a laptop on my bedside table with a note in Alessandro's precise handwriting. "For your stories. The world deserves to read them." I cried for an hour. It was on the fifth night, as we sat in his library after dinner, that everything shifted. Alessandro had been teaching me to play chess, patient with my amateur mistakes, genuinely pleased when I managed to put him in check. "You learn quickly," he observed, studying the board. "I'm motivated," I replied. "I hate losing." He laughed, a real laugh that transformed his usually serious face. "I've noticed. It's admirable." Our eyes met across the chessboard, and something passed between us. Something that had been building since that first night in the parking garage. An awareness, a connection that went deeper than gratitude or charity. "Alessandro," I said softly, "can I ask you something personal?" "Always." "Why aren't you married or in a relationship? You're successful, intelligent, kind in your own way. Surely women must—" "Trust is difficult in my world," he interrupted gently. "Most women are interested in what I can provide, not who I am. And I refuse to settle for anything less than genuine connection." His eyes held mine. "I'd rather be alone than be with someone who doesn't truly see me." "I see you," I said before I could stop myself. "I see someone who uses his power to protect instead of harm. Someone who could have left a stranger in a parking garage but didn't. Someone who listens when I talk about my silly dreams and makes me feel like they matter." Something intense flared in his eyes. "They do matter, Lily. You matter." He stood abruptly, moving to the window that overlooked the property. I watched the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands clenched and unclenched at his sides. "I'm trying to do the right thing here," he said, his back still to me. "You've been through trauma. You're vulnerable. Taking advantage of that would make me no better than Derek." I stood, crossing to him. "What if you're not taking advantage? What if I'm making a choice?" He turned to face me, conflict clear in his expression. "Lily, you don't know what you're saying." "I know exactly what I'm saying." I reached up, touching his face with tentative fingers. He closed his eyes, leaning into the contact like a man starved for affection. "You've shown me more kindness in 5 days than Derek showed me in 2 years. You've made me feel valued, seen, safe. That's not trauma talking. That's gratitude. And maybe something more. If we do this," he said, his voice rough, "if we cross this line, there's no going back. You'll be tied to me, to my world, the dangers that come with it." "I'm already tied to you," I pointed out. "You saved my life. You're rebuilding my future. I don't think we can pretend there's nothing between us." He opened his eyes, searching my face for any sign of doubt. Whatever he saw there must have satisfied him, because he lowered his head, giving me every opportunity to pull away. I didn't. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, mindful of my healing lip. But as I pressed closer, as my hand slid into his hair, it deepened into something that stole my breath and made my heart race for all the right reasons. When we finally pulled apart, Alessandro rested his forehead against mine. "Are you sure about this? About me?" I've never been more sure of anything. Over the following weeks, my life transformed in ways I'd never imagined. Alessandro enrolled me in online college courses, giving me the education I'd always dreamed of. He introduced me to his inner circle, making it clear I was under his protection. Rosa became the mother figure I'd lost years ago. Marco and the other men treated me with respect bordering on reverence, and Alessandro, he courted me properly. Dinner dates, walks through the garden, long conversations about everything and nothing. He was patient with my healing, both physical and emotional. He never pushed, never demanded. He simply was there, steady and strong, a foundation I could build my new life upon. 3 months after that night in the parking garage, I moved into Alessandro's home permanently. Not as a guest, but as something more. We hadn't defined it yet, but we both knew what was growing between us. 6 months later, I published my first short story. It was about a woman who found strength in unexpected places, who learned that rescue sometimes comes from the most unlikely sources. Alessandro read it 3 times, his eyes growing suspiciously bright. "It's beautiful," he said, pulling me into his arms. "You're beautiful. Everything about you." 1 year after Alessandro found me crying at that parking garage door, he asked me to marry him, not with a grand gesture or public display, but quietly, in the library where we'd first kissed, where I'd spent so many hours writing while he worked. "I know my world is complicated," he said, holding my hands in his. "I know I come with risks and darkness. But I also know that I love you, Lily. That from the moment I saw you, something in me recognized something in you. 2 broken pieces that fit together perfectly." I said yes before he finished asking. We married in a small ceremony with just Rosa, Marco, and a handful of Alessandro's most trusted associates. I wore a simple dress, and he couldn't stop smiling, this man who'd seemed so serious when I first met him. Our wedding night, I stood on the balcony of our bedroom, looking out at the property that had become my home, my sanctuary. Alessandro wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. "Any regrets?" he murmured against my ear. I thought about that desperate girl in the parking garage, crying and alone, convinced her life was over. I thought about the journey that had brought me here, to this moment, to this man. "Not a single one," I said, turning in his arms to kiss him. "You saved me that night." "No, mi amore," he said softly, his eyes full of love. We saved each other. And as we stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, I knew he was right. That parking garage, that terrible night, had led me exactly where I needed to be. To the man who saw my worth when I couldn't see it myself. To the life I never knew I deserved. Sometimes rescue comes at 1:47 in the morning from a stranger in a parking garage. Sometimes the most dangerous man you'll ever meet is the safest place you'll ever find. Sometimes broken people find each other and build something beautiful from the pieces. And sometimes a single moment of chance or fate or divine intervention changes everything. For me, that moment was when Alessandro Ferrante found a crying girl at a parking garage door and decided she was worth saving. I'd spend the rest of my life being grateful he did.